up, hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. All right, so me and Brent just got back from the woods, separate states, you know, state parks, national parks, whatever. And we're gonna talk about some hobby stuff. We got some decent stuff to talk about this week, and some interesting, I think, things that we found out. But Brent, you were up in the woods and somehow you got COVID up in the woods. How
things I found out is that I got COVID. So
how's that happened in the woods?
I have no idea. So went to the woods, saw some family, didn't see too many locals, saw a few locals out in middle of nowhere, Maine. I could blame them.
Yeah.
But then I got back from the woods. I immediately went to my high school reunion to see those folks.
Clearly what happened.
And I want to blame them, but my symptoms happened immediately, like the day after my high school reunion. So the timing doesn't quite work out because there's some folks there I'd really like to blame for all this. But
well, you gave them COVID.
If we're being reasonable,
you know.
I just don't think we can.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I've actually been getting a fair bit of hobby done, doing a lot of reading, expanding my horizons in a few different ways. And there are all kinds of places we can start on this, but let's do this. I did do a little bit of hobbying out in the woods. I took my Warcrow starter box with me, and I assembled some Sealcast minis and got my sharp little hobby knife out to scrape those mold lines. And by scrape, I mean slice as carefully as possible, because I think it's the Sealres Hard is what they use, but it still doesn't scrape so well.
Yeah.
It sands okay. You can scrape it, but really it's slicing is the best way to clean it up. And then super glue things together. And I'd say like 13 of the 14 models in that Warcrow box, pretty good. The biggest of the Orc Champion dudes had some pretty bad gaps. But I'll get a little putty out and that'll be fine. But mostly pretty happy with the models in that box. And maybe I'll get around to painting them someday. But
yeah.
I wanted to show you just a little bit of the booklet that came with Warcrow.
Yeah,
it's a brand new setting. We're trying to figure out what this world is all about, and it's also a setting that has clearly been designed and described by Spaniards.
Right. Expanding your models nation.
Yeah, expand your models nation. The goal of all miniature war games.
So I'm excited to see what's in this, because I mean that was just the back of the box.
Yeah, that was just the back of the box. Once you get into this booklet, there's some good stuff. So there's actually some really nice little turns of phrases in here, like legitimately good writing. And I'm going to read you one sentence that just gets me. And then I also want to read just the first paragraph of the intro. You know, if this were Warhammer 40K, this would be in the grim darkness of the far future, something. There is only war.
War's hell.
But yeah, war never changes. Let me give you the iconic run-on sentence that is the Warcrow introduction. All right. The first sentence is actually pretty good, but the second sentence is a doozy, and we're going to try to figure it out together. You and me and all the listeners here at Paint Brave, the podcast. Lindworm is being ripped apart. First sentence.
Okay, that's fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lindworm is the place.
Fantasy world in trouble.
Perfectly makes sense. I love it.
Perfect. Worm is WURM. Lindworm. Yep. Good. Second sentence, and this is the one I need some help with. I've been trying, man. I've been trying. Okay. This beautiful world beneath whose crust lie vast reserves of orichalcum, a mineral that vibrantly resonates with the magic of the celestial bodies, contemplates how the delicate balance of power achieved during the last centuries between the diverse peoples and nations that make it starts to crumble. Period.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot. It goes deep. Like it really deep. Does. It's like, well, all right, so we're gonna start here, and then we're gonna go literally deep into the crust, and then deeper, and that crust is made up of these things that are from space.
Orichalcum.
Oh, yeah. Orichalcum. That's a good one.
Yeah. And it vibrantly resonates with the magic of the celestial bodies.
Yeah. So it's just describing and then describing that thing. It's like trying to explain something to someone, but then be like, but wait, there's more context, because they're from space, right? So then you go a little bit further, and to understand that, you have to understand this other thing first. So it's a lot. That's tightly packed. Yeah.
Now, I think good writing should alternate short sentences, long sentences, or at least provide variety there. Yeah. So first sentence, nice, clean. Lindworm is being ripped apart.
I mean, that makes sense.
And then the second sentence, this beautiful world beneath whose crust lie vast reserves of orichalcum, a mineral that vibrantly resonates with the magic of the celestial bodies, contemplates how the delicate balance of power achieved during the last centuries between the diverse people and nations that make it starts to crumble. So the world itself, and it describes the world, describes the people living on the world, reiterates that it's starting to crumble. So,
yeah.
A lot to think about there.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely on the advance your models nation kind of feel. Like, I get it. I get what you mean, but that's tough.
Okay, so there actually is some really good writing in here. Yeah. I'm going to read you a sentence that I legitimately think is a good sentence. So this is from the next page. It's describing what are they called? The Alliance faction, the faction, the hegemony of Embersig is a young, dynamic, diverse, and expansionist empire. Now here's the one I really like. Armed with the iron fist of its Black Legion, the world's most powerful and well-trained army, wrapped in the silk glove provided by its skilled diplomats and spies, the hegemony has grown into a power without equal.
It's like the same kind of thing where it goes a little deep, but it doesn't go too deep.
I just love the metaphor of the fist of the army wrapped in the silk glove of the spies and emissaries. I like that.
It's a good visual. Yeah.
So we like to joke around here on Paint Brave, the podcast, and there's some funny tidbits in here. But I actually got interested in the world that they're building. Like there are lots of dumb fantasy worlds out there, but I can see someone actually getting invested in the story and the lore. So I'm willing to give this one a chance. That's my Warcrow update of the week.
I mean, that's good. You got into a rule book. You started reading it. It's good.
I didn't read the whole thing.
You got 3 sentences. It's a great start.
I'm not going to read the whole thing on the podcast.
I know. You
get your own copy of Warcrow Beginner's Guide if you want to get into it.
I've been excited about it. Like I don't know, like a whole standalone little skirmish game like that. Like it's perfect. I mean, lore and all that stuff I've never gotten into. I mean, it's because of things like that, right? Where we're going to describe the world and this particular faction, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're just like, oh man, like I don't know. Like it doesn't hit me in any meaningful way. Like it doesn't make me want to paint those models more, And I think that's probably why things like orcs make sense to me, because it's just like, this is more just, it's for the fun. I don't have to invest much in it. It's very surface level as far as like what this thing wants. So yeah, it feels a little bit easier to get into in that respect. Not that there's anything wrong with, going deep, but it starts to get a little convoluted.
It's a little convoluted, but I like the story they were talking about for the Embersig hegemony of the way they're getting the humans and the elves and the dwarves together and using the strengths of each to make like a unified expansionist whatever. Like, okay, there's something there. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. And just in terms of the two different sentences, right? The celestial orc something
or
talcum powder. Yeah. Like
it vibrates with the celestial resonances.
Well, and then it's like, and it's alive. It says it's alive. Like it has like a consciousness or something, whatever it said. So I mean, it just brings up a lot of stuff that's like, wow, this is a lot. But I mean, comparing both of them, it's like one of them is like, you know, it's fine. It sounds fine, but it doesn't really have any meaning. And the other one's like, no, these are like these are different powers, different realms that are coming together, and these things intertwine in a specific way. It's like, okay, I can get behind that. Like that's about as deep as I want to go. The other stuff, I don't know. Can't do it.
Fair. Well, we're going to think about this. More and more people are going to get Warcrow into their hands. They're going to struggle through these paragraphs and they're going to make up their own decisions.
Or they'll skip those paragraphs.
I'm curious to see.
And just play the game.
Some people do that.
It seems like I've seen a couple of videos. I haven't watched them, to be honest, but I've seen them. I've seen them up. And it seems like Warcrow is at least interesting enough that people are like, hey, this is actually like pretty fun. So, I mean, that bodes well. I like that. I'm excited for that.
Warcrow or Corvus Belli.
Which would have just been a good name for that game. I'm fine with that. Be like, yeah, see, this one is called what the company's called. This is a thing. This is our thing. Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I guess maybe that's in a nutshell. That's what this is, right? Like it's called Warcrow because Corvus Belli, but it's not just called Corvus Belli.
Yeah. And strangely, just doing the translation into straight, boring American English actually makes a pretty good name for a game.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty great. They're both good names. Corvus Belli, Warcrow. No notes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Speaking of Warcrow.
Yeah. What do you got?
Okay, so last time I talked a lot about Warcry.
Yeah, I see it works on that level too. It's great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. But so I was under the impression that Warcry, like a lot of the factions got deleted from the game and they're just like, oh, we're not supporting these anymore or such and such. Apparently that's not 100% accurate. I guess it's more that those factions aren't getting rules or not being used anymore in AOS, which seems fine. It's a different system.
Just being cleaved off.
And that doesn't really bother me. But I guess they're still selling a lot of those boxes on their website. And supporting Warcry as far as I know. But their the press release that they put out and everything made it seem like that wasn't the case. So yeah, just an update on that. I guess that's a good thing.
Live and learn,
right? Yeah. So you've been putting together Warcrow. Almost called it Warcry, seriously, just now.
Putting together Warcrow, for sure. But also, you know, when I travel, I try to take a little bit of light reading with me. And I'm holding here. Oh man, I didn't mean to do that.
You didn't mean to do that.
I apologize.
Brent's holding up a book called Color and Light, and he's like, "I just bring some light reading with me. It's no big deal." Little
light
color
reading
to
is a common phrase that I've used before.
Yeah. But when you're holding up a book called Color and Light,
well, Casey, I'm holding up a book called Color and Light.
What are you specifically talking about that you've read in this book?
I already said I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said I'm sorry. Now, this book by James Gurney, the creator of Dinotopia, and this is one of those books in our hobby community that is constantly talked about, and people are told to go and buy it and read it. And I bought this years ago, and I read like 5 or 10 pages at a time because it is dense. It's explaining some of the science of how light works and how that translates into how you perceive things with your eyes, and how artists try to mimic that in 2D. And so, yeah, I traveled a bit, got to read another 10, 15 pages of this before my attention wandered off again. And this is going to be just a quick little segment, but I'll tell you what I learned this time that I hadn't really thought about before. And it is the blue color of the sky I want to talk about. So we think of the sun as being a warm white light, like a yellowish colored sunlight. But the sky itself is a light box. So sunlight that hits the atmosphere can get scattered in different directions, and the wavelength of the light affects how much it is scattered. And it turns out that blue-colored light gets scattered like at a higher angle than other colors of light. And so that means that light that's coming from the sun and hitting the atmosphere kind of over on the horizon, a lot of that light just, went over the horizon, but some of that got scattered back by the atmosphere to your eyes, and the bit that gets scattered back is more likely to be blue light. And so if you're looking at most sections of the sky that has a bluish tinge, okay, fine, that's why the sky is blue, good. But the really interesting point is that it's not that the sky is a blue object. The sky is a blue light source. You are being illuminated by diffuse blue light from everywhere in the sky that's not a cloud and not the sun. And that actually has a pretty big effect on how we paint some things. So, for example, shadows. Parts on a figure that are not getting direct sunlight might have a bit of a bluish tinge, and one of the reasons you might give that a bluish tinge is because the light that those regions are getting bounced sunlight from the atmosphere, from the sky. The sky over on the horizon might be getting blue light going in on that shadow, bounces off the shadowed region of the figure and towards your eye. And so that has more of a bluish tinge than you might otherwise expect.
That makes sense.
That's my little tidbit. And I was like, yeah, that all makes perfect sense. But there's a lot of good stuff in this book. They're just like, oh, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, in terms of like practically taking that information, right, it's adding a little bit of blue into your black shadow.
Right. Or why Payne's gray is often used to kind of draw in a shadow. And Payne's gray is a blue-black. And it looks really good as shadow color. Yeah. So, I mean, it's sad I've owned this book for years now, and I keep slowly chunking through it. But if I find some good tidbits, I'm going to share it with you. And the one other point I wanted to mention on this, previously on Paint Brave, the podcast, I have complained about how light bulbs are labeled. Yeah. You got your warm white, cool white, and daylight. Yeah. And it would seem to make sense that daylight would be the color of the sun. That if you buy a daylight bulb, you might be kind of getting a warm white. But in fact, if you buy a daylight light bulb, that's going to be bluer than cool white. Yeah, it's really blue, yeah. Warm white is a little bit yellowish. Cool white is, cool white's like the closest to what I think of as just kind of being white light. And then a daylight bulb is noticeably blue. Yeah. And there were times when I was setting up my studio and I was buying light bulbs for the studio. I'm like, all right, get some nice daylight bulbs in here. And I'd get them all set up, turn everything on. It's like, sterile, why is everything room. Blue? Yeah. This is depressing. Yeah. Well, you've heard of mood lights that are supposed to, have all the daylight frequencies in them and make you feel good and feel natural. But I had all these daylight bulbs set up. I turned them all on as just the bluest, most depressing.
Yeah.
Very depressing. Yeah. I was like, what is this? Yeah. But now, I don't know if this is necessarily the reason why that is the word for daylight bulbs, but at least the way I'm going to remember this going forward, aside from just being angry about it, the way I'm going to remember this going forward is that a portion of daylight is skylight, is blue skylight. So I might be a little off on the proportions, but I think on a bright sunny day, it's like 85% of the light you're getting is direct sunlight. Maybe like 15% is the blue sky lighting things up. And so obviously it's mostly the sun, but an appreciable percentage is light from the sky. And that light is more blue. And so if we think of a daylight bulb, my way of remembering this is that a daylight bulb is including the light from the blue sky. And make a little more sense that way.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I've always thought about it, like if you go into like a Home Depot or something, right, and they've got you push the button and it's like the little fake room and there's a light bulb in it and it shows you. Like when you hit the daylight bulb, it's blue, but it makes everything in the room look like it's being hit by that light. So it's like how we perceive it, right? Which is what you're saying as far as what the book was saying. It's like, well, it's like a perceived thing. So when we look at something under a daylight bulb, it's like as if it were just sitting outside. So I mean that makes sense. Like it would have a mixture of that color in there to make us think, oh yeah, this looks like outside, even if it's like not at all really what that is. So yeah, I mean, and then bringing it back to painting, right? Like you're adding those different colors in, you're putting those into the shadow, you're putting like the light color into your highlights. Like you usually mix those in because it's like an atmosphere thing. So, if there's red light coming from the top, well, you're mixing red into your highlight as you go up. So there's just a little bit of that built into that highlight, and it makes you think that, oh, well, the light around this model is from a red source. Right. So it's the same idea. It makes sense. It's still a tough thing to get right, but yeah.
Yep. And connected to that, this is me getting a little bit deeper on Wikipedia, but on a cloudy day, you're getting, it's all diffuse light that's been bounced around by water particles in the clouds, but it doesn't bend the light in the same way that just the oxygen and nitrogen in regular atmosphere do. So it's not a higher concentration of blue the way the sky is. Like the light that you're getting from clouds is just kind of a reduced and diffuse version of sunlight.
That makes sense.
And so everything has more of a neutral gray feel on a cloudy day. And Wikipedia tells me some good cloud cover can reduce the amount of sunlight you're getting by like a factor of 100 some days, which some days are pretty... You
go outside and there's good cloud cover and it's bright, but you're not getting baked.
So look, as I start to digest this book that everyone, like legitimately this is an awesome book and people should read it, and whenever I get the attention span to dive a little deeper, I'll let you know if I find some good tidbits. We'll get into it.
That's good. I like that, actually. I think as a kind of an ongoing thing, just finding some tidbits out of some of these books that people recommend would be a pretty good thing to put into this podcast.
Color and Light by James Gurney.
Also Datatopia, because you should check that out. It's good stuff.
That's right.
I remember those when I was a kid. Good books.
All right, what do you got for us, Casey? Give us a new topic.
All right, I did a couple things. I've been doing lots of stuff. So nice. I actually went down. I met a listener of good old Paint Brave in the podcast. Goes by the name of Gigi at my local game store, and we played a game of Spearhead. I've been working on Spearhead armies. I've put together like 9 of them so far. I just parted them together from stuff. I proxied a couple things. It's a lot of stuff that you can do, which is exciting. I feel very excited about it because it's like quick and easy, and you know, you can just put stuff together and have a good time. But we actually sat down. We learned how to play. We played a full game. I lost pretty horribly, but it was really fun.
What was the matchup?
So I was playing Blades of Corn, and he was playing the new Skaven. Like that came in the Skaven type box. And like I don't know if that's a good matchup or not, because the Skaven from the Skaven Tide box seemed pretty powerful. There's a lot of models in that box. But there's a lot of really cool, fun things that each of the factions did, right? So scoring points is super easy. You do it after every turn, not after every round. So it's weird because you always feel like you're doing something. Like you have a goal every single time that you go on your turn. There's also a lot of reactionary things that you can do, like in your opponent's turn. You can play cards in their turn, on your turn. You can do all sorts of stuff because you get cards, kind of like Shadespire, right? So you have a hand of cards that you can do things with. So it was like really fast paced. You're moving around the board quite a bit. Like it felt like more than you would normally for something like just playing Warhammer. Like I got an extra. I could spend points that I had earned from killing dudes to like move an extra 6 inches in my opponent's hero phase. So it's just like, oh well, you know, this is a 36-inch wide board, so like 6 inches is a pretty decent amount. It's like a full move. So like you could really move around a lot and try and capture objectives, and you'd have secret objectives that you would hide from each other and try and accomplish and earn points on. And the game was super easy to learn. Like we just went through each round and was like, oh, okay, we do this now, and we played. It took a little over an hour maybe. But it was really good. Yeah. I don't know. Like it
Well, I'm still interested. I keep checking them eBay prices, and I keep seeing 190 shipped, which is
I have noticed that some of the Skaven Tide prices have gone down in the last week.
Yep.
Just in the last week. Like I've had watched items of like clan rats, right? You can get 20 clan rats for like $25. That's pretty good. And they're actually decent too. Like they're not too bad. Like the models look good, and they're like 2-part models, so like not really a lot of mold lines, and you just kind of put the 2 pieces together and you got yourself a clan rat. It's actually better than how they did like the Dominion stuff when they started doing the weird, you know, the arm goes through the leg hole of the thing and up, and that hides all these mold lines. It's like a more elegant way of doing that. So not too bad at all, and the prices are going down. So we'll see how that goes.
Might be talking me into it. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it's worth it just in terms of the Spearhead portion of that, because you get 2 full Spearhead armies. All the rules are there, and the book that it comes with, the whole like Fire and Jade book, has rules for every Spearhead box that is currently out. So I mean, that's like, I forget what they said is 20 or 30 armies that you just have all the rules for. It's all stand alone. You get all the cards and everything.
Yeah. The idea that they're all in one book, and
that doesn't change.
And yeah, because it's one book and it's in theory complete.
Yeah, in theory.
That sounds pretty good. That's the sort of thing I like to hear about.
So I think honestly, for the new Age of Sigmar, I think I'll probably only be playing Spearhead. Like that seems fine, because it was enough and enough units to make it feel like, oh, I'm playing a war game. It's not just a skirmish game. It's a little bit extra because you have units and you have, movement in units and things that do other things for other, your leader buffs this unit if you're in a certain amount of inches or whatever. There was also a lot of, at least with the two armies that we were using, like reinforcements. So if a unit of his clan rats got knocked off, which I took out one of them, they came back on the board edge like the next round to like balance out the points or whatever, however you want to say that. And then I had a unit that was like, oh, every time at the end of, your turn or their turn or whatever, D3 of these models come back into that unit. Like they just keep coming. So it had a good feel to it. Like there's a lot of good flavor. The armies worked kind of how you expected them to, but you could still do fun things. So that was a super fun game, and I'm probably gonna go back, and I guess they're doing a Spearhead League at the store that I went to. They even had like a bingo card that you could win prizes from the store. So you play certain matchups and certain games and mark off your little bingo card, and then it's like, oh, okay, here, you got a bingo. Here's a Spearhead box. So it was a lot of cool incentive.
Was that the GW store?
No, this was just a store. It's called Comic Kingdom. It's in Reno. Yeah. Okay. Decent store though.
Well,
pretty.
We'll
nice
have
store.
to check it out.
Yeah. They also do like pinball tournaments. They have a bunch of pinball machines in there, so it's like a cool store. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you and Gigi got to do that. That sounds great.
Yeah, not bad at all. He told me when he got there that the new GW, or the not new GW store, but the GW store that we have in town got a new manager. So Mason, who was there and definitely recognized me, remembered my name going in, hooked me up with all the good stuff, is no longer at that Warhammer store. So I did what was necessary, and I drove down to meet the new manager.
Okay.
Yeah. He had no idea who I was.
Well, Mason, we hope you're doing okay, buddy.
Yeah. It seems like. I think from everything I've heard, it was just too much. The Games Workshop, pressing down too hard, which I'm sure gets pretty bad after a while. Like their requirements for a manager is like on how much you have to sell and push and promote and do all this stuff seems like a lot of work. Because like if you go, obviously like the job listing comes up when a position comes open, right? And it's like I saw it the first time it came up, and then it came up again, when this new hiring situation came about. But they promote it like it's like owning your own business. That's how they talk about it. They're like, hey, if you wanted to own your own business, levels. Yeah, probably. Except you're getting paid like a flat rate, and you got to still do all the work.
And you have bosses.
Yeah, and you have bosses. So not at all like owning your own business, but I can see why that would appeal to somebody. Like,
and a toxic corporate culture. Yeah.
You have to hang out in the store all day, and you have to be there and do all the things. Yeah. But I went there and I got some emails, which is mostly why I went down there. I wasn't planning on going down there, but I got 2 emails from the new manager, Jackson. And apparently I had some stuff that I had ordered that was sitting in the back and I had forgotten.
How long ago?
2 years.
Okay, so Mason wasn't necessarily keeping up with everything. I mean,
to be fair, right, to him, I remember when I ordered them, and he did send me an email at the time, and I just never went and got them. So it's not on him.
That's an impressive sized back room there that you can just have a couple of boxes with a Post-it note on it.
Room that the store is in. Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, it's a decently sized room, but yeah, he went through, he emailed me, and I went and picked up, like, I had forgotten about I got the Chaos Space Marine, like, World Eater, cool looking Warhammer Plus free model. And I remember talking about it on the podcast like a year ago. I'm like, man, I never got that. They didn't send it to me. I totally forgot that it was at the store. And then a thing that I ordered the Warcry like Crypt of Blood set. It's like a starter set that has I just shut off my computer. There we go. It's back. We're back. I ordered the box, and it's got like the colored plastic, 2 warbands in there, and it's got like a paper map that comes out. So it's in a small box. So it's like a travel sized version, but it has everything that you need. And it looked pretty decent at the time, and it wasn't too expensive. So I remember buying that, and I don't 100% remember why, but I have it now. It's here.
So are these things that you had paid for but never picked up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The obviously the Warhammer Plus thing was for the subscription or whatever. And I remember going through that process because I didn't get the first model for sure. Like I never got the first one that I did order. Like it never came, and I can't like go on there and reorder it or anything. It's like, oh, this was time has passed. Like you've missed out. But I remember doing this one, and then I thought maybe the same thing happened. So I don't know, but yeah, I got some stuff at the Warhammer stores. It's kind of exciting.
All right. Well, yeah, I was kind of hoping maybe Jackson would get a few easy sales like you had requested or set aside those things, and that you actually pay for them when you come in, and maybe Jackson like knew how to juice his first month sales that way.
I mean, okay,
no, just clearing out some room for
like a little bit of criticism, just because I can. So I did go in there, and I wasn't necessarily planning on buying something, but I do like to buy something. Like it's not super close to my house, right? So like if they have, one of those silicone mats, or, I want a specific paint that I don't have anymore, it's running low or whatever, like, yeah, I'll grab something. Just cause like I'm there and don't necessarily always get the opportunity. But no, like he gave me the stuff, he rang it up and he's like, all right, you're good to go. See you later. And then it was like, oh, okay, I'll go then. That's fine. There was no upsell. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's breaking a cardinal rule there, Jackson. Yeah, you gotta upsell. Yeah. So what you working on? Oh, you like Warcry, huh?
Exactly. So I don't know.
Have you?
We'll see how it goes. I mean, I wish him the best, and I will be back. And maybe we'll both go visit Jackson at the Warhammer store.
That would be nice. That'd be nice. See, Mason is crushing it. He's getting sales and not giving you the products, whereas exactly. Jackson is giving you the products and not making sales. He's got a lot to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get there. We'll be fine, I'm sure.
Hey, I think Mason would have given you a bingo card if you play enough games of Spearhead. You get a free Spearhead. I think Mason would have done that. I mean,
that's seems like a pretty sweet incentive, honestly. Like it's not that hard to.
What was the game store that did that called?
Comic Kingdom.
All right.
Yeah. And they printed off the GW one, so I guess it's out of like a White Dwarf or something, and they just like copied it and printed it off, and they're running it, they're doing it. Their Warhammer section though in that store is pretty big, and they have a bunch of tables set up for it that are like nice and tall, the tall tables where you can kind of lean on them and everything is there right in front of you. It's not, you don't have to bend over for 6 hours or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, so they know what's going on. But yeah, mostly doing those things. I've been working on just Spearhead stuff in general, but kind of just moving about my office. Like, oh, I'm going to pick up this model over here. I'm going to bring it back over here. I'm going to set this over here, and then I'll clean this table off, and maybe I'll be able to spread out some armies on this table. And then, so that's mostly what I've been doing. I've been trying to make a video around this, like not doing a lot of things, but getting a lot done at the same time. Like I did put together like 9 full Spearhead armies just out of stuff I had laying around. So, and I have more too, like in boxes that are not built. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been getting some assembly done, and you've been getting some puttering done, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
All right, so I've been sick with COVID for the last week, and I've been, sitting around not doing much, scrolling Instagram, getting little things done, and I found a meme on Instagram that hit me harder than it should have, and it's just a drawing of a man out in his garage, like doing God knows what on his workbench, like organizing screws or something like that. And it just defines the word puttering. Puttering, the act of doing small chores that don't need to be done and no one will notice are being done. Mm-hmm. And I got to thinking about that, and I think that puttering is a really big and important part of our hobby. Mm-hmm. I thought we should talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely what I felt like all week. Like, I have been just puttering around my workspace. I cleaned some stuff up. I moved some boxes over there. I wiped down the table, all this kind of stuff. But in the same last couple of weeks, right, I've gotten a lot of stuff done. Or at least I think I have.
Well, there's a sense of accomplishment. Man, there's a sense of accomplishment. You change out a few dull razor blades for some sharp ones on your hobby knives. You wipe something down. You clip the extra bits off of a sprue. This is puttering. These are not important tasks.
Yeah.
But they're small little chores that you can get done. There's a sense of accomplishment. There's some forward momentum. It feels like hobby progress, even if you don't end up with a painted model at the end of an afternoon of puttering.
Yeah, it does feel like hobby progress. Like you're preparing for when the real hobby is going to happen, right? Like, especially changing those blades, like, you feel good about that immediately. It's like, oh man, the next time I cut into some I'm gonna be able to scrape those mold lines so good. Like, you get excited about it, and then you're like, well, maybe I should try it on this model. Yeah, scrape those mold lines.
Yeah. I haven't used brush soap on my brushes for a little while.
I did. I saw the brush soap, and I was like,
soaped them all up.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah, like I did. I opened the thing. It was like the Adepticon soap that I got. I don't even know what company it is, and it was like the little thing of it. I saw it on my desk, and I'm like, man, you know what? It's been a minute since I cleaned this brush off. I sat down for like an hour, and I cleaned a bunch of brushes, and I felt so good. I'm like, these tips are so pointy. Like, the paint's gonna be so good when I do that.
You and I understand perfectly what we're saying to each other.
Exactly.
And I hope the audience understands part of this joy.
I think it is a universal hobby thing, because like you said, like in the garage, right? You do go around and I'll go and clean my garage randomly sometimes, and I'll be like, I'm gonna put these screws over here. I actually did that not that long ago. I brought in a bunch of like so I had the big cabinets in my office before I separated and closed the wall in my office. And it was like a whole garage set that was already here when I bought the place. And I didn't have those in my actual garage. So instead of leaving them in there, like we refinished the whole room, did the floors and all this stuff, I moved all of those cabinets into the garage. So I don't know, a month ago, I went out, I put my kids in chairs in the garage, and I'm like, you can sit here and like watch this thing on the tablet or whatever. And I went through and I like puttered around, and I put stuff away, and I organized all sorts of crap, and I felt very accomplished after. Like, there was an extra, foot around the car when I parked it in the garage, and I was like, yes, I can open the door without hitting something now. And I felt really good about it.
Oh, that's so good, dude.
So it does feel more universal is what I mean. Like it can apply to many, many hobbies. So I would think that the people listening would understand. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You can putter in your garage, you can putter in your basement, you can putter in the kitchen. Lots of good places to putter around and get the little things done. Get that forward momentum, get some hobby progress going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been threatening it for a while, but I do want to get into all my boxes and clip all the bits off and put them into baggies, because I have all these like plastic tubs. Now that I got the display cases, I've taken all the models out of the plastic tubs, and it's like, well, I need to fill those tubs with something. I mean, I got all these bits, I got to do something with them. So eventually
that's a good one. Yesterday I cleaned up 2 old orc sprues, got the extra bits off of 2 old orc sprues, moved the sprues down to my basement, my pile of sprues, where they're supposed to be.
Where they're supposed
feels
to
good.
Be. Yeah.
Feels good.
You're just moving things from a box to another box, and you're like, yes, this feels right.
A half-empty orc sprue in my box of orcs is nowhere near as good as a little baggie of orc bits in my box of orcs and a blank sprue down in my basement with all my other blank sprues.
So is the next step like get out the box of clipped up sprues, take those boxes of sprues, clip those down to little squares and put them in the other box?
That's on the list.
Yeah. It's just divide and conquer. We're gonna get down to these little things. Putting small things into smaller things. Eventually, I don't know. I'm not gonna throw it away. So,
yeah, I think there's a deep psychological conversation to be had here. It's formulating. Yeah. It's formulating. If I can ever make a YouTube video that's just me holding up my hands the way the alien guy holds up his hands, puttering. And instead of saying aliens, it's just puttering.
I mean, I think you got it right there. I think you're there.
Puttering. Get my hair all crazy, just puttering.
I mean, it feels good no matter what. Like, you do feel like you're getting things accomplished, but yeah, I think you're right. There is probably like a psychological component of you're feeling accomplished even if you're not accomplishing basically anything.
Yeah. I think there's also an avoiding real tasks that you need to do. There's a dark side of puttering. Probably. Maybe that's the dark side of puttering. That's a different video.
That's the follow-up, yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, I guess if you go down that road a little bit further, it is that it's avoidance, right? You're mentally trying to not do more important things, but you're giving yourselves the bits of like accomplishment and confidence along the way, so you feel good about not getting those things done.
Yep. Yeah, the dark side of puttering, man. That's exactly what it is.
It's probably still not a bad thing. I mean, it's the working your way up towards something, right? Getting everything prepared and being ready. Like, if you have a bunch of small wins up to the thing, like, you're going to feel better about the thing. I still think it's good.
Agreed.
I think puttering.
Yeah, get those wins in.
Get those wins in, the hobby wins. Yeah. Because I mean, like I said, like, I've basically been doing that the last couple weeks. And I feel like I've gotten a lot more accomplished. I've even done more actual work too. And maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because the puttering, you know, I've moved things around and it was like, okay, I'm going to build and paint this entire whatever. Like, I brought 3 separate Spearhead armies fully painted to the game that I was going to play. I only ended up using one of those armies, partially because of time, but also because I had forgotten things. Like, I had put together and painted a whole Fireslayers army, something that I've been trying to accomplish since that army actually came out for Age of Sigmar. I have 2 Star collecting boxes of that, and I've put all this stuff together, and it was like, I don't know what happened. I missed 10 whole models that I have that are in my hobby space, and I brought all the other ones, and I was like, oh, I don't need those. I didn't paint them. I didn't even work on them. I did all this work on the other stuff. So I had to come back, and I ended up building and painting 10 more models, and it was real quick, but because everything was prepared, I was ready to go. My brushes were sharp. My space was clean.
Ready to go.
Yeah. And then when I got this Warcry box from the Warhammer store, I brought it home and I built it. It is done. And because it's the colored plastic, there's like blue Stormcast plastic and the red Vampire plastic. I don't even know if I'm going to paint those. This will be the travel box for Warcry. But they're done. They're built.
Blue and red as they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's done. I actually put it together. And I think because there wasn't a barrier for me to just go in and do it. Everything was where it should be. Everything was ready. And I got a lot of stuff done. I finished Editor Matt's Sylvaneth that I still have that are his. Like I did the bases for them. I put tufts on them. I turned them green with this stuff. I did all this stuff. Yeah.
Dang.
I rebased and touched up 10 Blood Warriors that I had from when the first AOS box came out to put into my actual Spearhead army, because I almost had a full army with what I had. But it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff got accomplished just from kind of not doing a lot.
That's outstanding. Yeah. I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate it.
keep on hobbying bravely out there, folks.
Puttering bravely, yeah.
Well, all right. I made a purchase recently. I'll show you this. Yeah. So this is something I've been thinking about for a while. So my professional background before I got into painting was as a chemist, and specifically a spectroscopist. And I have a lot of experience working with very expensive spectrometers, and I couldn't resist buying the cheapest spectrometer I could find on Amazon.com. I had a need, a hankering.
You're like, I gotta test some of these spectrums.
Yeah, so I've got the Spectrix Blue here, which is a UV vis spectrometer, and it's got a little bit of fiber optics cable here that you can point at a painted mini, and if I get the settings right, it'll give me a nice UV vis spectrum, or mostly the visible range of 400 to 700 nanometers, and it'll show me the peaks and valleys of what light is being reflected off the painted surface back towards the eye. And from that, I can do some things like figure out, to a degree, what the pigments are used.
Right.
I think most of the features on those spectrum are going to be very broad for reasons I can't wait to talk about. But
yeah, I know.
But I actually am really excited about this purchase, but it's going to take me a little while to figure out, because this is such a cheap, presumably Chinese product, that the documentation was not very good for how to use the included software. And in fact, while most products I buy have a little slip of paper telling you about the warranty, this has a sticker in the box that says this does not have a warranty.
Like they spent extra on the sticker.
Yeah, most products are like, go to this thing and you can enter an email list you don't want to be on so that you can get your warranty information. This says this product is offered as is and makes no representations or warranties of any kind concerning the product, express, implied, statutory, or otherwise, including without limitation warranties of title, marketability, fitness for a particular purpose, non-infringement, or the presence or absence of errors, whether or not discoverable. Some jurisdictions do not allow the exclusion of implied warranties, so such exclusion may not apply to you.
It definitely does not. Like, you are, if it doesn't work, that is too bad.
Yeah. I think that says does not include a warranty, except there are some places where we're not allowed to not include a warranty.
That's fair,
and in those places that don't apply.
Like we're not saying that you don't. We're saying that we might not pick up your phone call is what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think if I can find the right source of background light. Like if I can make a little light box for myself, choose the light source, whether that's LED with some sort of a diffusion filter or something.
Daylight bulbs,
and then I think there's a way to kind of zero things out and start making some actual good measurement about the diffuse reflection absorbance spectra, or just reflective spectra. But anyway, I'm excited about my spectrometer, and I'm hoping to be able to use that to talk a little bit more about pigments that we use in our paint. And I am excited. Hopefully this little $200 doodad will work. Otherwise, I'm definitely just returning it to Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
Warranty or no.
No, they will take it within you only have 30 days, right? You might want to
probably get on that.
Yeah. Technically, could you detect multiple pigments?
That's going to be iffy.
Yeah.
That's going to be iffy. It's more, the conversation that I want to have is more why we see the color of light that we do. And then I do think that it would be possible if I had several chemically distinct pigments from the same color, like the different yellow pigments, you'd be able to see slightly different shapes and start to understand why some pigments are different, or show the shift between phthalo blue and phthalo green, something like that.
Very nice.
I think there are interesting tidbits that are worth digging into and understanding and sharing that we can see with this. Like it doesn't need to be a sophisticated spectrometer, and like I said, this wave region for pointing at solids is going to just be big, broad curves. You're not going to be able to... The resolution on the spectrometer doesn't really matter because everything is so broad and distorted in solids anyway, especially in this area of the spectrum. But I think there's some really fun and interesting tidbits and story that can be told there. So I am looking forward to it. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see if I'm able to get this particular device working otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I think it'll be pretty cool. Yeah.
I've had a ton of fun with my microscope that I bought off Amazon last year. And I'm hoping that this will be a similar level of fun for me.
The mechanics of a microscope are a little bit easier
Probably.
to...
Yeah, it's more of an issue of... It's more of an IT issue, actually, of just the incoming data and being able to do the averaging of the incoming scans and do the sort of the not the white balancing, but the zeroing out of the ambient room light, that sort of stuff. But anyway, that's I'm getting up to my business again. Yeah,
no, it's good. I think people are here for it for sure. They keep asking for them science videos. And you're like, this is a spectrometer. And I'd be like, yes.
Yes.
I don't know what that is. Give it to me.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm always thinking about the next science video in one aspect or another. They're coming. Yeah. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Oh man. Yeah.
We got anything else for the people here today, Casey?
I was just thinking about that. I mean, I'm looking at the stuff I wrote down. I did all this building. I did all this painting.
You've gotten a ton of stuff done. I spent most of the last 2 weeks since our last episode in bed with COVID. So.
I mean, that sucks. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. I went to my high school reunion. I can confirm that the quarter or third of people who come back to a high school reunion are the quarter or third of the most conventionally successful, boring types. Yeah.
So you were by far the most interesting person there.
In a way, yeah.
Just
I mean, it's like the vast majority of the people coming back for a reunion are married, 2 children, stable and good but boring job. I mean, right on. Good to see you're doing good. Seen 5 years. You know?
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I have...
And someone there had COVID.
Exactly. Thanks, Jim.
Good to see you again.
Every time. Oh, man. Yeah, I have no desire to go to a reunion ever.
Okay. I can understand. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, wow, I remember this person. I still recognize this person. All right. Yeah, there. Mm-hmm. Oh, I will pass on one final tip of the day. If you do go to your reunion or whatever, I actually figured out a good conversation
Bring
starter.
Models and paint. I get it.
Just sit in the corner. Bring your hobby kit, sit in the corner, and paint models.
Yes.
Perfect conversation starter. No, I was going to say, ask people what they waste their money on.
Ooh.
Don't ask about their job. Don't ask about their kids. You don't care about how many kids they have. It don't matter. Ask them what they waste their money on. And it'd be, well, I guess, like, oh, I am a degenerate sports gambler. Elliot,
way more
glad you're doing well.
You know, that gave me a little bit of hope. I don't know. That'd be a fun thing to ask people.
Yeah, what do you waste your money on? Oh, like, ooh, and then, yeah, what? One guy was telling me about his magic decks. Like, all right, okay, we're getting somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. Or yeah, alternatively, bring a commander deck and just sit down in the middle of the floor.
Just start shuffling.
Start shuffling. That's right. Somebody will answer the call. It's in their car. You know it is. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Just bring an emergency little nerd kid in the car.
There was a video floating around for a bit where it was some metal concert and they opened up the pit and it was literally people playing Magic in the middle. And that was it.
Wow.
I know.
It makes sense.
Does, yeah.
But it's hard to have enough room to sit down in the pit and set up a board.
People were just like, no, I will. We're going to open this up. Like, it will be fine. And they made it fine.
They just rolled out their neoprene and started going, neoprene,
but, you know.
Just right on the sticky venue hall floor.
I don't know. But definitely something to think about next time you go to a concert or a high school reunion. Yeah.
That's why you listen to Paint Bravely, the podcast, for hot tips like those.
Yeah. Just putter around your hobby space. Just, think about things. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.